Hey guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about 5 tips to a successful virtual interview for medical billers and coders. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue. I'm a medical coder. I have been a medical coder for over 10 years. Today's topic, we're going to be facing head on what to do when you have a virtual interview. Taking the human element out of it, like physically going to a place and putting you in front of a camera and a computer. While it can help with the nerves, there's a lot more effort that you're going to have to put into it. Remember, when you are talking on camera, and I will say this before I get into the 5, all right? When you are talking on camera, you have to bring up your energy level, because for some reason, when you are on camera, your energy level can appear lower than it actually is. So you don't want to be over animated, but you do want to make sure that you are perked up when you are on this interview. They want to see you in being very engaged with them. That is the whole key to a successful interview, is have them wanting more. That is the whole thing, because technically you are going on a date, right? You are meeting these new people and you're doing this virtually. So you're going to have to put your best foot forward. That's going to start with my first tip, which is dress up. And I don't mean just put on a nice top and then, oh yeah, you can have shorts on. No. You need to dress up, because just in case, right? The camera moves or something happens, or you move maybe a certain way and they can see like you have your shorts on or whatever else you got on. You want to make sure that you are all in just one piece, okay? So that you look good, all right? So if you are in a nice blouse, you need to make sure that you are wearing slacks, or make sure that they cannot see what you have on lower in the camera. It's just something that happens, so you always want to be prepared. I strongly recommend dressing up like you are going to the place, because they're going to see you. This is where they're going to first meet you, and you want to put your best foot forward. So if you're going to wear a dress, wear a nice dress. If you're going to wear a blouse and maybe a blazer or something, go for it, but make sure you're wearing something nice, okay? You got to look good. And you gotta, if you're ladies, do your makeup, because again, the camera's going to bring everything down, and you want to make sure that there's good lighting. So sit where it is, where they can really see you, all right? And be prepared, because that's going to lead me to my next tip. But you want to be prepared as much as possible, because how you appear on this video call is going to tell them a lot about you, okay? The next one is to have your books ready. Sometimes during these virtual interviews, I've had a phone interview before. And the phone interview that I had, who eventually hired me, she was very much, okay, let's see if you can think on your feet. And I said, okay, bring it on. And she says, I like that. And she goes, okay, do you have your books with you? And I said, yes. And she started asking me coding questions. So she wanted to see how fast I was able to look up codes in the book, if I knew where the sections were in the book, to look up the answers, whatever I needed to. If she was asking me about modifiers, where was I flipping to in the book? If she was asking me about evaluation and management, where was I flipping to in the book? Which book was I looking in? The CPT manual. If I was needing to find anatomy plates, what book could I look in? The ICD-10 book. And so there's all of those things. Well, the CPT book has it as well. But there's all of these things that they may potentially ask you. So you should have your books with you. If you don't have a current year book, just whatever edition of book that you have, the latest book set that you have, just go ahead and have it with you. They aren't going to expect you to have the latest editions. If you've been out applying and maybe you have 2019 books and you don't have a 2020 set, that is totally fine. There was some updates. Naturally, there's updates every year. But for the most part, a 2019 book will suffice if they're just trying to basically gauge your knowledge base. And you can tell a lot about a coder just by the way when you're asking them questions. A veteran coder asking a brand new coder, you can really tell how familiar they are with the book. Because if I ask somebody, where can I find the list of medications and what they are. If somebody looks at me like a deer in the headlights and doesn't know to flip to the index, I know the appendix, I know that they're not very familiar with the appendixes. So there's a lot of information in the appendixes that you really should be familiar with. Okay, so that is my tip for that one. My next tip is to have a subject ready that you are ready to talk about. Whatever specialty that you may be thinking of, or if you have not worked yet and you liked a particular specialty like cardiology, maybe you liked gastro, or maybe you're like me and you like ortho and podiatry. Get ready to talk about that, because they may ask you, well, what was your favorite specialty when you were in school? What did you like to code? Don't talk about anything that you did not like to code, okay? Whatever you do. Anything that they ask you about coding, you want to be as ready, and you want to show as much enthusiasm as normal, okay? You want to make sure that you're not shying away, because they're going to see how you react to these questions. If they say, well, we have family practice and we have other clinics, they're going to see if you say something like, oh, well, I don't really like to do that, or I've never done that before. You need to turn it around, make it a positive, and say, I'm excited and I'm really interested in starting on something like this because when I was in school, I read this article or I found this website. It's going to show that you are much more engaged. And that's really what you want, because again, you have to make sure that they know that you are going to be ready, because they're not going to waste their time on somebody that's not ready or is sort of ambivalent about what they want to do. They want somebody that is going to be right on the money, okay? You have to make yourself look as ready as you possibly can, even though you may not feel like it. The whole world doesn't need to know this, okay? Only you need to know it, because everything's going to come from you. And when you are going to start out in this field, it is a lot. And I'm not going to lie to you. I've never said, oh yeah, no, it is going to be a lot, but it is fun. And when you start, you're really going to start to get what I'm saying. So that's my tip on that one. But before I go on to the last two, I want to let you guys know that in addition to doing tutoring, I also offer professional coaching, which professional coaching is just sort of like where I'm doing mock interviews. And if you are trying to prepare for an interview, I do that. I also review resumes. I also review cover letters. So we talk about those types of things and how to prepare yourself and how to be ready. I do offer that service. So if you're interested in professional coaching, let me know. Shoot me an email and we can talk about my rates. They're very reasonable. But I just wanted to let you guys know that I do offer that, because I've been getting lots of requests for resume reviews, and I'm happy to do it because being a veteran coder, I know what they're looking for, and I know how it should sound as well. So if you're interested in that, just let me know. All right. So the next one is you are going to have to ask the interviewer questions. If you don't know what questions to ask, I did do a video a while back, which I will leave that link in the description box below, what questions you should ask the employer. Okay, and there's also another video that was questions that the employer may ask you. Okay, so if they ask you, well, do you have any questions for us? There's a whole list, and it talks about like what are the hours and what chances for advancement as far as like learning other clinics, things that are showing that you are willing to put more of yourself out there is what needs to be said in this interview. Okay, you want them to see this really good side, because they want to know that whoever they're hiring is going to be ready. Okay, and that's what you want. That's what you want to tell them. That's what you want to show. And watch those two videos that I will post, because that's really going to go in depth about that. And I just want to make sure that I have enough time for this one, because I started filming late tonight because there was a issue that the maintenance men had to come in and take care of, which is why I'm late with filming. Sorry about that. but here I am. All right, and the last one is to minimize your distractions. When you are doing these interviews, make sure that you are backed up into a wall that does not have anything going on, okay? They don't need to see like your table and all your bric-a-brac. They don't need to see all of that. They need to see something very clean. They need to see a very clean area. So if you have to back up to a wall, or if you have to back up to just like a curtain or something like that, do that. You want to minimize all distractions. You don't want people walking behind you. Please don't do that. I think we've all heard of what happens in these sessions for school for these kids. That there's people walking around in the back, and they're they look questionable. You want to make sure that you are minimizing all distractions, all right? Because chances are, if they're interviewing you virtually, they're probably going to have you working at home, maybe, possibly. So they want to make sure that wherever they're assigning, that whatever coder that they pick is going to have a good place to work, and something that's not going to be as in a distracting area, okay? So you want to do that. So make sure that the lighting is good, that they can see you. Make sure that you are putting off really good energy, and be positive. These people are brand new to you too. Do you think that they're not nervous? They are nervous because they have to interview. And who knows how many interviews they've already had. I mean, when you think about it, lots of people apply for these positions because they want to get into a good, stable field. So it's all about standing out. And when you think about the energy that you should put into being in these interviews, think of it like you're visiting with a friend. So, right, it doesn't seem like it's so nerve-wracking then because you're talking to a friend. Now, obviously, you're going to be very professional with this friend, but that's the sort of energy that you want to come out with. If I was to say, well, this is my interview. Hi, how are you? And it's good to see you. Thank you for having me. That kind of energy is much better to have than, hi, how are you? I'm okay. Like you can barely hear me, right? So you want to be able to say hello, speak in a very clear voice, and talk like that. That's what you want. And if you have to sit there and practice in front of a mirror or book a session with me, that is totally fine, where you're having to do this back and forth. But you don't want to overthink. That's what you don't want to do. You don't want to overthink, and you don't want to say, well, what if they ask me to tell them about myself? Just tell them about yourself. Why did you decide to go into medical coding? If that's what they're asking you, just tell me about yourself. Why did you decide to go into medical coding? Do you have any hobbies? They're looking for a human connection. They're looking for something that they can connect with. Is this person going to be a good fit for our group? Is this person going to be able to get along with others? Is this person going to be a studious person? What kind of personality are we dealing with here? That's why they ask these questions. It's not so that they can be invasive, but it's just so that they can find out a little bit more about who you are. Somebody may look good on paper, but then when you meet them, right, meet virtually, it could be a completely different story. So they have to be able to make a sound judgment with this very limited time span. And they're going to be investing a lot in you. They have to do background checks on you. They have to send you for like drug screens and things like that. And all of these things cost money. And then they have to get you trained, and that's even more money. And then if you have to get immunizations, that's even more money, right? So these are all things to consider. This is why this is why sometimes with employers it takes so long to get hired anywhere, because of all these things that have to happen and all of these hoops that they got to jump through just to get somebody in there. And so they want to make a really good call for whoever they decide to hire. That's why you got to be able to shine. Remember, they don't know you. And so you got to put forth all of the good qualities that you do have. And you have to show a little bit of your personality at the same time, because they need to know this. This is stuff that is going to help them to make a really good sound judgment on who they're hiring. So those are my tips. And yes, it is a virtual world right now. And doing a lot of these things over Zoom and everything, it's good. And I know it's just, sometimes it's a lot easier when you're in person. Sometimes the Zoom is much more easier for some. Either way, look at the advantages of being on Zoom. You don't have to rush anywhere to get in time. You don't have to worry about getting lost or traffic. You could just do this virtually, and you just have to be on time. Oh, and that's another thing too. Be on time. If your Zoom session starts, or your meeting, Google Duo or whatever, whatever thing that they're using, if it starts like right at 9 o'clock, you got to be there. Okay, so make sure you are on time and that you know the login and you can log in. You want to make sure that there's no delays, because they need to see that you are on time and that you can work with technology. Because I know technology is not always our friend, especially when things don't want to log in, but you never want to wait till the last minute. So that is something to think about as well. And again, just be dressed for success. Do a little makeup, all right? Make sure that, you know, your hair looks good and you're just ready to rock and roll. And you're going to impress them because you've got all this education, or you've completed a program, and now you are headed on to that task of trying to find the job. But virtual versus in-person. And the other thing that it's saving you is those sweaty palms. I know I get sweaty palms when I go and shake hands sometimes. Who doesn't, right? That's one thing I hate. It's so annoying because you're just like, oh my gosh, my nerves. And then sweaty hands. So you just have to learn how to breathe and know that everything's going to be okay. Like I said, focus on the fact that you're like talking to an old friend. Okay, you're just trying to catch up, because when they see you relaxed, it's going to relax them. And remember the thing about mirroring. Mirroring is when you literally kind of copy somebody's actions so that way they can relax. It's a psychological thing. I don't know why this happens. But when you start to relax and they start to relax, then everybody can communicate better. I know, because I do this with my boys. Sometimes when they're standing in front of me and their arms are crossed, I cross my arms. And they notice this and they uncross their arms. And so I uncross my arms. And so I'm looking at them. So they know that I'm mirroring them. They don't say it, but they know it. But it makes them relax as well. So that is something to think about. So you can still mirror even in a virtual session. And mirroring is just basically very nonchalantly doing the same things that they're doing. Okay? So that is just my tips for today. I hope that these help you, and you guys are going to do great. Don't worry, okay? When you do these interviews, just have fun. And whatever happens, you'll get another interview, okay? It's not the end of the interviews if you don't get one, all right? That's just my advice. Okay, I'm going to wrap this one up. So, if you are a medical coder, a medical coding student, somebody curious about the fascinating world of medical coding, a provider, or a nurse, I invite you to like and subscribe and follow me on my journey in medical coding. I will see y'all next time. Bye!